We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Weintraub. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, good thing because we have plenty to talk about today. There was a big week, and nothing like major news, but a lot of plenty of tidbits of information that were interesting to discuss. So we're going to talk a little bit about the little scare that some people at Tesla had with the rumors that Elon could be replaced as CEO. Though we're going to discuss how the reality. Sorry, I just lost my whole screen here for a second. Okay, I'm back in. Sorry. The reality behind this report, which I think is still interesting, even though it was somewhat denied by Tesla. But we all know that Tesla and Elon likes to deny news report that turn out to be true at times. We're going to discuss a bit of Tesla's European sales still crashing quite a bit. A giant price hike on Tesla vehicle in Canada that probably going to collapse demand in the market. The Tesla semi-public charging network coming in the next few years. The Powerwall 3 having a giant impact on solar inverter business. Waymo and Toyota partnering, BYD cells, a couple of Chinese EVs, the new IONIQ 9 pricing and spec release, and then a few impact of the tariffs. Well, I mean, the Tesla pricing in Canada is also an impact of the tariff, but still. All right, let's start with this report that came out this week from the Wall Street Journal. So Wall Street Journal, conservative paper, very serious news organization. So when they do put out a report out there, like people take it seriously. And this week they decided to release on the 30th. So that was on Wednesday night. They released a report about claiming that the Tesla's board started to a search for a potential new CEO at Tesla. I broke down the report here in points because I found these tidbits to be the most new and the most interesting. So basically, unnamed sources, they say that board member reached out to several executive search firms to work on a formal process for finding Tesla's next chief executive, according to people familiar with the discussions. So what that's telling me here, Seth and I have been doing that for a while, and we kind of can read between the lines a little bit from other reporters. What I'm seeing here is that probably a source from one of these executive search firms that were not selected. That probably it. Then the board probably met with Musk and asked him to spend more time on Tesla. Around that time, Tesla's board met with Musk for an update. Board members told him he needed to spend more time on Tesla, according to people familiar with the meeting, and he needed to say so publicly. Apparently, Elon didn't push back on that meeting. So that's now starting to say, okay, that source for that would be closer to the board then. What it also tells me is that this might just have been, because that was about a month ago. They said the report came out this week, but that happened about a month ago. So what that looks like to me is like the board floating out there, like knowing this is going to leak. They float the idea of replacing Elon to create some leverage against Elon so that he starts spending more time at Tesla. And then sure enough, what happens in the Tesla's earnings call last week or 2 weeks ago, Elon declares that he's going to step back from Doge, spending a little bit less time at Doge, spending more time at Tesla. So now the report continues kind of framing that into like the unclear status of the job search, of the potential placement search following Elon's statement during the earnings. So the board narrowed its focus to a major search firm. So it sounds like they were going through with it. According to people familiar with the discussion, the current status of the succession planning couldn't be determined. It's also unclear if Musk himself, a Tesla board member, was aware of the effort, or if his pledge to spend more time at Tesla has affected succession planning. Musk didn't respond to requests for comment. They also, later in the article, said that they also reached out to Tesla, but Tesla doesn't have a PR department and doesn't necessarily, most of the time, doesn't respond to media inquiries. So this is basically like, okay, we don't know exactly what happened. And then there was a few other interesting colors that happened in the article. They said that actually the board has been looking to add a director to the board, so a ninth director. And JB Strobel said, they mentioned JB, whose role has been mostly unclear so far and going under the radar since he came back to Tesla's board. Well, I mean, he was never on the board, but he was an executive at Tesla for years and then came back as a board member. The Wall Street Journal says some director, including Tesla co-founder JB Straubel, have been meeting with major investors to reassure them the company is in good hands.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. So what does that mean? Is he introducing himself as a potential replacement, or is he backing Elon and saying Tesla is in good hands right now with Elon? That's the question here. That's the question mark. The Wall Street Journal even reported having seen text messages. So they have a source that is someone very close to Elon who's texting with Elon. And they said that Elon said last spring that he doesn't want to be Tesla CEO anymore and that he's looking to get out. The report also includes a bunch of insights from people that work at Tesla and that are critical of Elon and that they don't like the situation that Elon is creating within Tesla. It says they mentioned a specific Tesla exec, though I think it's more of a manager or in between, Ilya Gilfenbaum, who's working, I think, on Autobidder at Tesla. And he publicly, well, or at least his comments did leak in the media in the last few weeks, saying that he told what he says. He told his team that it was getting more challenging to hire and retain talent. According to one person who was present, he told them Tesla would be better off if Musk resigned, but he said that is unlikely to happen. So he said that he told the employee needed to reconcile the boss politic with the company's mission, which is a hard thing to do, and he advised them to try to compartmentalize and just keep going. All right, so it actually like sound advice for a manager that still works at Tesla, that managing a team at Tesla. Like, you guys, this is happening. He's the CEO. You need to like move on or reconcile this politics with the missions, which again are hard to do. Apparently, he's been let go, that guy, since the comment has been made public. So according to the Wall Street Journal, there was a tidbit of information that said the board is still supporting Elon, but one board member told people that sometimes Musk wasn't as well prepared and that he needed to be briefed more about what is happening at Tesla, which sounds extremely likely with a guy that's splitting his time between 6 major projects. So personally, I wrote right there in the Electrek stake section, I said that to take this with a grain of salt because it's unnamed sources and everything, but the whole thing made sense to me based on what I know, how people report about that stuff. I think they have some good sources, but personally, I don't see this necessarily as the board really trying to replace Elon. First of all, it's the board's job to plan succession for a CEO. So they should, even if he's not on his way out, it would be the minimum responsibility of the board to at least prepare a succession for the CEO when your CEO is split between 6 different. I mean, you know my.
You would imagine.
I would imagine, but I mean,
Right.
You guys know my point of view on this, and I clearly think Elon should not be involved at Tesla at all. I think he's hurting the company more than he's helping at this point. Not the stock, the company and its mission. I mean, so I think the stock is completely built up by Elon, but that's another thing. So I'm not saying that I want that to happen, but I'm saying that the board, that's what they should be doing at the minimum, even if they don't want him out. And I think that this particular situation might have been just them floating the idea to, unfortunately, get leverage on Elon to spend even more time at Tesla, which is a weird thing.
So you think the board leaked it?
I mean, I think the board knew it was going to leak more than anything else. They knew, if they're going to meet with a bunch of firms,
right,
that would happen.
I like that. I think that's probably hey, this is a message to Elon saying, get your shit together. Stop doing this, stop killing this cash cow that you built.
But then what happened, Seth? within a few hours, the board and Elon denied the report. So I don't know if you saw my headline here, but I said Tesla board denies having done the only right thing it has been reported to do in years. Like, it was actually reported to be doing its job for the first
Right.
time in years, and they're like, no, 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 I don't. How dare you accuse us of doing our actual job here? We are Elon fans till we die. And of course, Robin Denholm would do that, as she is on literally unloading an entire position right now. Over the last 2 weeks, she sold two stacks of Tesla shares worth about 32 million each, so 62 million. I think she's down to her last few shares of Tesla right now.
Is there
That's
any board that's made as much money as Tesla's board? Like I hear board
never.
members make like $250,000. I mean, they show up, a few times a year. They have meetings. Like these guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like
Mhm.
I've never heard of a board making that much money.
I'm sure there's been occasions where, like, a few times where boards have, like, there's been a big giant surge in stock price, and there were stock options involved, and they made a lot of money. But I remember doing the research on this back when there was the settlement for, or even when maybe the shareholders sued the Tesla board over compensation, which they won, and the board had to return or cancel stock option worth $1 billion, which is something that confused a lot of people last night. There was a bunch of Tesla filings with the ACCs about that. But some of them were actual sales, including Denholm and including the CFO sold about $1 million worth of Tesla stocks. But all of the other board members also had to file, and it looked like they were like selling hundreds of millions of Tesla stocks, but those were actual cancellation of stock options due to that settlement for overcompensation. And when I did that research around that time, like a few years ago, I looked at the biggest companies, because I wanted to compare that Tesla was $1 trillion company at the time, and I wanted to compare with other large companies like Apple, like Google, and whatnot. And yes, you're right. For the most part, most of them, they get a few $100,000 a year, but some of them are like activist investors, so they already are like large investor in the company and they're on the board, and then that would obviously, like if the company blows up and then makes a lot of the stock price blows up, they make a lot of money. That's obviously something that can happen. But yeah, so a few hours later, Tesla issued a statement. So the statement was issued through X, of course, the Tesla official account, but the statement was signed by Denholm just as she was selling over $60 million of Tesla stock over the last few days. She said earlier today there was a media report erroneously claiming that the Tesla board had contacted recruitment firms to initiate a CEO search at the company. This is absolutely false, and this was communicated to the media before the report was published. The CEO of Tesla is Elon Musk, and the board is highly confident in his ability to continue executing on the existing growth plan ahead. So, like, here, we've dealt with Tesla in the past. We did with Tesla PR. We did, like, they can say something and mean something completely different. For example, here they say that the report was erroneously claiming that the Tesla board had contacted recruitment firms to initiate a CEO search. This could be as simple as, like, one board member did the search without not within the official capacity of the board. Started, like, putting some fillers out there. Again, like I said, I think it was more about floating the idea than anything else. This could have been as simple as that, because I don't think that Wall Street Journal misreported there. I think I'm sure that their sources are pretty solid on that front. They wouldn't have reported that. So I'm pretty sure she's just being super misleading here. I should note that between that denial and the report from the Wall Street Journal, which the report came out, by the way, at I think at 9 p.m. at night Eastern time. So it's past even the official trading hours, past the trading hours on Wall Street. But nowadays, with Robinhood and a bunch of different services, you can actually trade Tesla stocks past those hours too, even though it's like minimum trading. So the prices don't mean that much. But the prices did crash after the report on those, again, very limited volume of trading after hours. But I think that the board panicked and kind of put that out there pretty quickly. And then she said the CEO of Tesla is Elon Musk, and the board is highly confident in his ability to continue executing. She says that at the same time that she's basically liquidating an entire stock position in Tesla worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So try to reconcile those two. And then Elon chimed in saying it is extremely bad breach of ethics that the Wall Street Journal would publish a deliberately false article and fail to include unequivocal denial beforehand by the Tesla board of directors. Again, the Wall Street Journal didn't change the article a bit. The only thing they did is issue a statement saying we did reach out to Tesla and they didn't respond, contrary to what Tesla did say here. So again, I'm siding with the Wall Street Journal here because I know Tesla doesn't respond to media inquiry. I'm sure that they have the receipt here that they send the email and it bounced back or whatever. So yeah, I think Tesla is like purely straight up lying there or actually misleading people. For a second, we got excited, like, oh, maybe. No, I got excited for like half a second. As soon as I saw the headline, I'm like, let me look into it. I'm like, I like the report from Wall Street Journal. I thought it was giving a lot of colors around the situation with the board, but I didn't take it too seriously.
Although, there was contact between Tesla board and the and some recruitment firms theoretically.
And apparently, Elon texted someone saying that he doesn't want to be CEO anymore, which is something he's talked about in the past quite a bit. He said,
"Yeah, it used to be scary. Now it's like hopeful."
Yeah. All right, moving on. We're starting to get some numbers from April deliveries for Tesla in Europe. And it's not looking good. It's still crashing quite a bit, even with the Model Y now. The new Model Y being available is just not good. This website here is pretty useful. It's called EV-EU, EV-EU, and the track daily sales for the few European markets that do release daily. Not just electric vehicle, but vehicle sales. Most market like the US is super opaque, Canada is super opaque, but most, I think, all European countries release monthly numbers, and some do daily. Some big ones do, like Denmark, Norway. Sorry, it's too small for me to read it's just the flags on there. But anyway, all those countries represent a big part of the European market. Tesla's Q2 deliveries are not only like halfway of what the Q2 in 2024 were at that time, it's also tracking down a few hundred units from Q1 2025, which was horrific. But everyone says, no worries, it's just because of the Model Y changeover. Now, the new Model Y is here since March, and nope, it's just as bad, if not worse. And then we have some number that came in yesterday. In France, Tesla delivered only 863 vehicles in April, down 59% year over year, and also down 24% compared to January 2024, which January is always the worst year. And now, nope, the worst month of the year for Tesla in Europe. No, it's April now. In Denmark, only 180 vehicles in April, down 67% compared to April last year, 59% compared to January 2025. Portugal, 239 vehicles, down 47% over a year, down 39% versus the first month of Q1 2025. So, yeah. And we don't have all the numbers for all the electric vehicles in Europe yet, but I would assume they're still up because Q1 they were up 24%, while Tesla was down 37% overall. And today we also got the number from Sweden. Sweden, you have a total collapse of demand for Tesla vehicle, it looks like. They reported only 203 deliveries in April. It's look, I tried to put a metric that started to make a little bit more sense. So 2024 in Sweden, Tesla was delivering on average 1,825 vehicles a month on average in 2024. So far, in the first 4 months, we have 4 months in 2025, so it's pretty good. It's 533. It's down 71%. And again, down 80% to just 203 units in April with the new Model Y available. You can get a new Model Y within days in Sweden, and there's still a ton of old Model Y inventory available that are way cheaper, of course. So yeah, total demand collapse in Sweden. The only thing that, like, it's a kind of a little bit of a glimmer of hope for Tesla in Europe is the availability of the rear-wheel drive Model Y, which is a little bit cheaper. But like for a place like Sweden, the all-wheel drive is way more popular than the rear-wheel drive for obvious reasons. Uh, it's not true in all European markets. I think all-wheel drive is like 30% of the market, probably higher for electric vehicles though. But overall, all-wheel drive vehicle about 30% of the European market. So yeah, the rear-wheel drive could help a little bit, but by how much? With the clear brand damage here. It's not just the Model Y changeover that hurt Tesla in Q1. It's obvious now. People need to forget about that narrative. It did hurt a bit for sure, just not as much as people claim. Now in Canada, I think we're gonna see a inevitable complete demand collapse for Tesla because they announced some price hikes this week that are huge, like absolutely huge. So the Model 3 long range all wheel drive, the rear wheel drive is not available in Canada anymore. It went from $69,000 to $80,000 Canadian. Model 3 performance, well, it's not a big seller, we can forget, but Model Y long range all wheel drive went from $70,000 to $85,000. That's a 20% increase, 21% increase. The Model S got a 17% increase. The Cybertruck now costs $140,000 in Canada, 22% increase. It's just insane. At these prices, without access to the federal incentive, only in Quebec they would have access to the incentive, but not with those prices because they are past the limit. I don't see anyone buying a Tesla in Quebec, in Canada, anytime soon.
And he's also Team Trump with 51st State, so not doing good PR either.
Yeah. Even before this price hike, like Tesla was having issues, partly because the end of the federal program or the pause of the federal program, but also, like you said, the call to annex Canada as in help. Elon himself called Canada not a real country. Like it's just
He said that?
he said that, like just
Jeez, what an
stupid
idiot.
things, like
Okay.
it's completely useless to say. Like it's just maybe like you get some of your fan base excited with these comments, but you're hurting like big companies that have a huge impact on the world like Tesla. It's crazy. I don't only post bad articles about Tesla. I do not, because this is a good one for Tesla. The Powerwall 3 is disrupting the solar inverter market, and it's doing so quite a bit. So the Powerwall 3 we started seeing glimmers of it, like a little bit of installation every now and then, a pilot installation in 2023, but it really started to ramp up in 2024, especially in the second half of the year. And the big upgrade to the Powerwall 3 is its power capacity through its new inverter that can be both a backup storage inverter, an energy storage inverter, and a solar inverter. So it's obviously makes it a very popular with solar installations because with a new installation, you can just use that instead of buying a separate solar inverter, save a few $1,000. Not just on the hardware side, but also the installation makes it a lot easier, especially if you plan already to have an energy storage system. So now you have both of them installed at the same time. Very, very useful. So Energy Sage, which we work at Electrek a bunch of times, they mostly known for kind of trying to match potential solar buyers with solar installer and solar and energy storage installer companies, and that give them a ton of data because they are involved in a big percentage of solar installation in the US, basically. So they have a lot of interesting data, and they say that Tesla became the most quoted battery brand in second half of 2024, occupying 63% of marketplace share nationwide. Because of the Powerwall 3 includes the integrated inverter, Tesla also became the second most quoted inverter brand. So basically, whenever there's a solar installation that has a battery attached to it, which is it's not that it varies greatly based on where you are. I assume it has to do with the cost of energy. The more expensive it is, the more you're going to want to have a battery storage. Like in California, it's 79%. In Hawaii, it's 100%. In Texas, it's 68%. So the major market, it's like the majority of the market. But then you have like Arizona, Florida, which are big solar markets too. It's 41, 45%, and then it goes down quite a bit after that. Like in New York, 22% of people that get solar also get a battery. It's pretty low.
Yeah. I don't know why. It seems like a good idea.
Yep. And you can see here that the top quoted battery brand is Tesla all the way now in the second half of 2024. That's up to where the report is works.
I wonder if Tesla got into some financial trouble if they'd think about spinning off their energy business.
I mean, that would be interesting. That's an interesting thought, sir. Because it's the only
the
business
batteries
that's
are
actually
integrated.
working right now. It's growing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of helping Tesla at a fundamental level right now. But at the same time, Elon has always said that Tesla's business is completely reliant, or actually the stock price is completely reliant on the self-driving aspect. So if you would decouple the business, Tesla would, I would be an investor in Tesla's energy business right now. Powerwall 3, great product. Megapack, great product. I don't know if I would be an investor because while they are a great product, I have some serious concern about, first of all, in the US with the tariffs coming in on the batteries from China. As soon as Tesla is done with its inventory, it's in trouble. And then there's other competitors that are pretty impressive too. But Tesla is still driving the prices down too. So the gross price per watt hour is now at solar plus storage is down 7.3% in the second half of 2024. So that's huge, and it's at its lowest ever. The cost per solar, it's not clear from that charge, but it looks to be about 245 maybe per watt. The only downside of this whole thing for Tesla with the energy side is that Energy Sage did note that there was an increase in customer requesting an alternative to the Powerwall in 2025 in the last few months, most likely linked to Elon Musk being increasingly controversial. All right. Moving on from Tesla, we have still plenty to talk about, but I want to get your guys' opinion too. So I see we have a few of you in the comment section right now. But if you have a question, you can put it in the comment, whether you're on YouTube, X, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and we're going to get to it in a few minutes. It can be about any of the topics we're discussing right now, or any other topics in the EV world or renewable energy world that you would want to take on. You can put the question in right now. We're going to get to it in about 15, 20 minutes.
Before we switch over, we have the Tesla semi-public charging network.
Oh, I skipped one.
And then let me do the quick read of the.
That's right.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Retrospec, makers of the sleek, powerful e-bikes and outdoor gear built for everyday adventure. What started as a few bikes and tiny LA apartment has grown into a full lineup of accessible, high-quality gear, including e-bikes, bikes, paddleboards, kids' bikes, and more, made to get people outside, no matter where you live, how you ride, or what kind of trail you're chasing. The electric bike line is where the performance meets style, from the rugged Valen Rev Plus fat tire e-bike built for comfort and control on any terrain, to compact commuters, trikes, and folding models that move with you wherever life takes you. Retrospec is all about affordability without compromise, so you're getting sleek design, thoughtful features, and solid performance at a price that won't break your budget. Electrek listeners get 10% off their next ride until May 8th with the exclusive code Electrek10 only at Retrospec.com. And don't forget to tag your ride, hit the road, snap a shot, and share your outdoor moments with hashtag ready to outdoor for a chance to get featured. Thank you, Retrospec, for sponsoring and helping us all ride a little smarter.
Yes, thank you, Retrospec, for sponsoring this week's episode of the Electrek Podcast. Yeah, you said I skipped. Okay, I skipped one here. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, so it was a CT Expo this week. We have Joe Boris that's there, and I think Jamie also did a quick look around. And but I think mainly Joe is leading the reporting on this, so you can check it on Electrek right now, or he's gonna talk about it on the Quick Charge Electrek Daily podcast. But I covered the Tesla Semi. There was a quick Tesla Semi presentation from Dan Priestley, the head of the program at Tesla. Tesla earlier this week, and probably in preparation for the video that they showed at the event, they kind of released an update of the Tesla Semi factory that they're building next to Gigafactory Nevada. And they basically said, everything is on track. Production should start late 2025, volume production in 2026. Nothing that much new there. But in the presentation, there were a few new things that were discussed. First of all, they shared some data about the current fleet. They didn't released a number of vehicle in the Tesla Semi fleet right now, but they said that cumulatively they travel 7.9 million miles, 12.7 million kilometers. And they say that more than 26 of the vehicle at each travel over 100,000 miles. So I'm not too impressed about that, because in the presentation from September 2024, not that long ago, Priestley did say that the fleet had traveled 7.5 million miles, so just 400,000 miles since then. So that's not that crazy with a fleet that we don't know how many, but we've seen about 70 or 80 trucks between the PepsiCo fleet. There's a BYD EV that has a few. There's a few other customers that have a few, but Tesla probably has a few dozen itself. They said 7.5 million miles at that time in September, and they said that a single truck had traveled 250,000 miles over 400,000 kilometers in 1.5 years. So that was kind of more impressive than adding 400,000 miles in 8 months or so. But another piece of new information is that there's going to be a PTO, a power takeoff system, a 25 kilowatt power takeoff system at the back of the vehicle. So that's going to help them power external system like a refrigerated trailer, for example, in the back. So that's really useful. So it's make sure that the Tesla Semi is a more complete solution for trucking. Finally, there was a bit of tiny details about the upcoming mega charger network. So Tesla has already deployed a few mega chargers. The first public one is expected to come in Los Angeles later this year. They have deployed some private ones at customer location and Tesla's location, but they plan to do it as a public network where any truck, any Tesla Semi trying to do more long haul trucking can stop and charge at. And they're saying that they have 46 station planned by early 2027. So that makes sense. It's going to be a little bit late, but volume production is not going to come until 2026. That's when the actual customer deliveries are expected. Like we reported a few weeks ago, there's been quite a bit of delays with the Tesla Semis, and now customers are only expecting deliveries in 2026 and at a much higher price too. Even though Dan Priestley kind of denied the report on that, but he was very vague in his denial, and I'm pretty confident about my information that it's not going to be a $180,000 vehicle.
Also, it was interesting that the charger network seems to be only in the South.
Yeah, it looks to cover routes between California, Texas, and looks like maybe one or two in Michigan. Not that much on the East Coast.
Yeah, maybe Georgia, some Florida.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure it's going to expand quite a bit from there. So that's just like the first phase, and I'm sure that the Tesla Semi deliveries are going to track that quite a bit.
I wonder if that's warm weather for battery.
Oh, yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
Good point. All right. There was a bit of an update on automotive tariffs from Trump this week, so it's been quite of a nightmare to follow. But it was the deadline. May was the deadline for kind of figuring out, if you will, the tariffs on auto parts that are especially from Canada and Mexico. It was just not like the Trump administration. The tariffs came in place last month, but they gave automakers a month to figure out the tariffs on the parts from Canada and Mexico that were part of a free trade agreement for years. And now the update, do we have the actual detail here? Okay. I kind of remember there, we didn't go into too many details in that post, but I kind of remember them by heart. That now the new requirement is going to be if you have 85% of your parts from the US or the free trade agreement between Canada and Mexico, you're going to be good. You're not going to get any tariffs on your vehicle. And that's very good news, because most of the automakers in the US are getting close to that. I know there's been a lot of misreporting on that, because people are talking, it's 85% parts in the US, and some people are reporting only Tesla as that. It's not true. Even Tesla doesn't have that. It doesn't have 85% of the parts from the US. It have like 75% of the parts from the US and Canada for most of its vehicles. We don't know the exact percentage from Canada in there, so it has less than 75%. from the US, 25% plus from Mexico. But most of those parts are included in the free trade agreement. So basically, you're good. So you can just have 15% parts from China and Europe, for example. So that is going to be a problem probably for some automakers, but it's a lot easier to adapt, let's say. And it really does it shows the problem with Trump's tariffs is that it's not really a tariff, it's kind of extortion, really, because if you have access to Trump, and like the big automakers and Tesla, obviously through Elon and everything, have access to Trump, you can call him and you can negotiate something with him. But if you're a small business, you cannot do that. You cannot call Trump and like, hey, give me an exemption for your crazy tariffs that are going to kill my business. So it basically become a game of access. So Trump is the kingmaker, or the king, really, and you have to know the king to not get crushed by his policies, basically. So it's really not ideal, to say the least. All right. Big announcement on a Waymo and Toyota partnership that kind of aims at Tesla, because most self-driving expert will give the self-driving lead to Waymo, just for the fact that they're actually giving out commercial rides for self-driving without any driver in the car, and they do so quite a bit, 250,000 a week, sorry. While Tesla has never given a single ride without either tele-operation assist, sorry, or the driver being responsible. But the way that a lot of people see it is like, okay, but Waymo can only operate its own fleet. So they take cars from other automakers. These days, it's mainly the Jaguar I-Pace, and they retrofit them with their hardware suite. And then they put that on a ride-hailing fleet, whether their own or they actually work with Uber too. So they are included in the Uber system. So that's how it works. While Tesla, even though that's exactly what Tesla plans to do, aside from using Uber, in Austin in June, they also have this vague promise that they're going to enable full self-driving capacity in consumer vehicles. Now, not as many companies working on autonomous driving actually aims for that, because they think that a separate fleet without a driver, and especially with electric vehicles, will reduce the cost of traveling per mile quite a bit, and then a lot of people were just going to use these services instead. Even though some people are also going to own a car, eventually that will be self-driving at 1.2. But Tesla is definitely more of a leader on that front. Now, this new partnership between Waymo and Toyota kind of aims at that. So he said Toyota and Waymo aim to combine their respective strengths to develop a new autonomous vehicle platform. In parallel, the companies will explore how to leverage Waymo's autonomous technology and Toyota's vehicle expertise to enhance next generation personally owned vehicle, call them POVs. Like, I don't know what you need a name for that, like a personally owned vehicle. Just we call them a vehicle normally. The scope of the collaboration will continue to evolve through ongoing discussion. So it sounds like Waymo is going to potentially develop a new vehicle platform with Toyota to use in their fleet. So much like they do with Jaguar right now, but the I-Pace is kind of going away, and Toyota already announced a deal like that. Not Toyota, Waymo already announced a deal with Hyundai to use the IONIQ 5 for the next generation vehicles that they're going to produce. So there's that. Maybe Toyota is going to get involved in that too now. But the bulk of the deal here appears to be more about Waymo implementing its tech into Toyota vehicle for Toyota to sell those vehicles to customers as self-driving car later. So that's interesting, and that goes directly after Tesla, because that's something that Tesla has been talking about licensing FSD to other automakers. But as for Toyota, the largest automaker per volume in the world, it's going after Waymo instead of Tesla FSD. Moving on, BYD released its April numbers, and it's another blowout. They are doing extremely well again in sales. And what was interesting with this particular performance here, so they claim to have sold 280,000 new electric vehicles, new energy vehicles, they call them. So they include both BEVs and PHEVs in there in April. But for the first time in over a year, BEV sales surpassed PHEV sales for BYD. So they sold. So that's was that here? Yeah, 185,000. So just short of 200,000 fully electric vehicles. That's quite wild. So in a month now, they sell basically more EVs than Tesla sell in a quarter, which is huge. They also sell, we talk about the Tesla Semi, so they also have commercial EVs, and they sell about 8,000 of them a month now, which is pretty good too. There's my screen. Oh, okay, I'm back. All right, Seth, speaking of Chinese EV, do you want to talk a little bit about this post that you people got quite intrigued about the Lynk Co. So we don't know that much about this company here, but in China, they're getting big.
It's a Geely company, so
yeah,
they could just spin up a company in 10 minutes. And actually, it's funny because Zeekr's not even a decade old, and they've already got a skyscraper and a whole lineup of cars. And it's just interesting how they do their brands in China. It's definitely a different thing than what we do here. But this vehicle in particular, we were in China with Zeekr, but of course, at the Zeekr event, their sister company, Lynk Co, was showing some vehicles. And they're all great, like, solid. I don't know. There's always the argument, like, is China subsidizing all these stuff? Well, yeah, a little bit, but how much? And at this point, does it matter if they've done it? They've already, built the assembly lines and they're producing cars.
Yeah,
anyway,
and when we say subsidizing the companies, we mean more about it's not like, oh, this car would cost more if they wouldn't be doing that. It's more like they do help them, like, set up the company, invest. They do give them loans to build the factories and all that. It's more about that.
Yeah. So this is it's kind of like a little Range Rover almost. I mean, it's a really nice car inside. Yeah, it's a stunning car, super aerodynamic. I think I put in there the coefficient of drag is something like 0.29 something. So super aerodynamic. It's a plug-in hybrid, so it doesn't have a huge battery. I think the battery is like around 60 kilowatt hours. But
you said 45, 52.
Yeah, 45 to 52 kilowatt hours. So, a solid battery pack. It'll go, 130, 174 miles on a charge, which is like, that's most people's day. Like, you're not going to do much with that. And then it's got kind of like a range extender, what I would call a range extender motor that'll charge the batteries. And then you can go like 1,000 kilometers or, something silly. So it's a pretty good like mix, because you would almost never, unless you were on a road trip, use the gas engine. And then, so that's the outside. The inside, pretty incredible, like huge display. Like, it's, like a center display, but imagine that like going all the way. So that display that you can see there in the video goes all the way to the right. So like the passenger can see it. And then they kind of split the display so the passenger can watch. You can see that there. The passenger can watch videos while, the driver's driving and whatever. Not super safe, because obviously the driver is going to be interested, but they don't
have a privacy like gloss on it, like that.
I'm sure they could probably put like one of those airplane things on or something. Anyway, front row, very plush, very nice. Accelerates 0 to 60 in like 3.5 seconds. Like, felt really solid. Doors, everything just felt great. Second row, you get basically like lazy boys, like two like really soft plush. They drove us to the airport in one of these, and I was like asleep in like 10 minutes. So, and then they spin around 360 degrees, so you can have like a little conference call in the back seat there. So super nice. Like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where like, oh, this is an amazing vehicle. It would run, with Range Rover and Rivian, and then they're like, oh yeah, it starts at $40,000. And obviously like the $40,000 one isn't, doesn't have, isn't as plush as the one we were driving in. But like, the super plush one is like 55 or something. So it's, and there's like a lot of incentives, like the Chinese are incentivizing, just like we're incentivizing EVs, to get us down to $40,000. But it's still kind of crazy that you can get this kind of vehicle for $40,000 in China. It's just such a nice vehicle, so roomy, so like luxurious, I guess. And it felt like, we always say like you get 90% of the vehicle for half the price in China. It felt like they're getting closer to 100% of the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I mean, you have also the NVIDIA Tor Smart Driving chip in there,
Oh,
a
yeah.
LiDAR sensor. So that thing is going to be able to get maybe like level 3, maybe level 4 driving at some point. Like,
Yeah, and in a video that we're going to post later this week, or actually this weekend or next week, we're going to show Zeekr has this autonomous driving thing where it'll pull into a charger. The charger has an arm on it. It'll plug, charge, unplug, and zoom out. Like you don't have to even touch anything.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, that was like Tesla's, Elon's like pitch. Like we're gonna have autonomous cars, and they're gonna roll up to the charger, and there's gonna be the snake charger or whatever.
2016 maybe.
Yeah, this is actually happening in real life.
Yeah, I cannot back for some reason. I don't know what's happening.
Did it open a new window, maybe?
Oh, again, I got it. All right. So we saw this SUV, really nice SUV, $40,000 starting price. Now we have same category of SUV, IONIQ 9, but this one you can actually buy. It's kind of that was the terrible sequence of the way to introduce the vehicles. Like, let me talk to you about this incredible EV that you cannot buy, and it's just $40,000. And now let's talk about a much more expensive EVs that have fewer features, but you can buy for $60,000. But I mean, it's still a great car. And again,
yeah,
as long as you have protectionists in the US, it's never going to happen. You're not going to get any Chinese EV. But yeah, we have the pricing now for the IONIQ 9 2026. So the 3-row SUV starts at, so that included the freight charges. So basically the starting price is $59,000. Then you have, so that's the S model that you can add to the rear-wheel drive version, then brings you to $60,500. That version gets you up to 235 miles of range. Then you have the all-wheel drive SE version that you lose 15 miles of range to 320, but you gain some horsepower at 303 horsepower. And this one starts at $64,000. So not that much more expensive to get all-wheel drive. And then you have the performance version with 422 horsepower, bigger wheels, but you lose, again, a little bit more range at 311 miles of range. And this one is much more expensive at basically $73,000. Then you have a specific calligraphy design trim that is very similar to the performance version, but with a few new design features. 350 kilowatt charging that we get used to now with the Hyundai and Kia EVs. It has NACS as standard, so that's nice.
That's good.
10 to 80% in 24 minutes. Here's a quick look at the interior of it. No, I still cannot get the thing to work. All right.
What's the size of the battery? Do we know?
It has to be pretty big. No, I don't think we have it in this article.
It's
maybe we have it here.
Probably the same as the IONIQ or the EV9.
Yeah, it must be similar. No, I don't have it here. When is that thing coming to showrooms and stores? 2026 will be arriving in dealership early May. Also, it's already happening, basically.
Yeah, so I'm actually going down to Savannah almost next week, in about 10 days, 11 days, to give that a test drive. So nice. I'll have some firsthand features shortly.
Perfect.
Excited about that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Another impact on tariffs, even though they didn't say, BMW said it's going to pause its EV production in the US in May. So they're basically, they didn't say why, but they told their dealers that They think that their position in the US remains strong, and the majority of vehicles they sell are built there. But I would assume that for their EVs, they do use a significant percentage of parts from other countries, which is sometimes a lot of times that what happens with the European automakers that launch in the US. They they had to move quickly with the IRA and all that, so they basically set up like as much as they could in the US, but still brought a lot of things from Europe, and that messes with the current situation with the tariffs and the limitation on the parts. So for BMW, they decided just to take a step back and wait until April, past May. So they said that the pause was going to happen in May, and then they're going to reevaluate. I would assume that they're just waiting for Trump to change his mind again and modify the tariffs. But though that news came before, okay, it came at the same time as the update on the tariffs with the 85% new limit for U.S. and Canadian and Mexico free trade agreement parts. All right, one more piece of news, and then we jump into the comment section. So if you guys have questions, you can put them right now. We can get to it in just a few minutes. I just want to give a quick update to Aptera. So every few weeks, every few months, we like to give an update because it's a project that we do enjoy. At Electrek, we're all about efficiency. Like why most of us love electric vehicles is because it's just a more efficient way, a more or less fuel intensive way, a less polluting way to get from point A to point B. And it's also fun. Obviously, the electric vehicles have a bunch of other advantages, but that's the main thing. And Aptera kind of want to push that to its limit. So electric vehicles are getting so efficient that even solar directly on them now are starting to make sense. And Aptera is pushing that to its limit, obviously, because it's not a full vehicle. It's a auto car, they call it. It's a three-wheeler. Even though it performs a lot like a car, it's a lot more efficient because of that. And we shared a few updates in the last few months. They have been having a lot of issues raising capital to get to production. But in December, they returned to crowdfunding to try to get because they did manage to raise, I think, $34 million to crowdfunding. It's one of the most successful crowdfunding campaigns, especially when it comes to electric vehicles ever. And because they were not able to go through the regular, the more traditional ways to raise capital, they decided to go back to that late last year. And last month, they introduced a new offering where they price match a discount with your new investment. So it's mainly a way to get, the previous crowdfunding investor to double down on it. And you get, for every $1,000 you invest in the company, you get $1,000 discount on a launch edition of the Aptera. So they gave a little bit of an update on that. They said that 400 people already gave more than $5,000 each. So that's a few $1,000,000 right there. Not really enough to get to production, but still. Speaking of production, they said that they have now their latest production intent model, the PI4, which they codename Artemis. Well, I guess that's kind of two cool names at this point. And they've been making a lot of progress. They shared a video that we have in the article that look into the thermal management system that they are introducing to the vehicle and the new infotainment system with the 12.8-inch display that they are starting to work on the UI. And they also have another production intent vehicle coming to assembly now called the Gemini. And they say that this one's going to have more production weight component, and they expect that will improve the efficiency even more. They're still looking to try to get this thing to production this year, but again, it will be dependent on the raising some money, I think. So it's not dead; it's still going. And I wish them the best. I'm still skeptical, and I invested some money in there myself, just as putting my money where my mouth is. I've been loving this project for a while, but I don't recommend people invest in it. I think if you're probably going to lose your money more likely than not, but you never know. Maybe it's going to be an interesting project at some point. I really want them to succeed.
Yeah, I keep hoping to get scooped up by like a Samsung or somebody like with some deep pockets and some production capability, and sees like, hey, this would be a great ambassador for your brand. Like at the very least, like, hey, this is really cool stuff. And they have a lot of interest. I mean, that like our Aptera posts do quite well. There's a lot of comments on them. it just seems like there's interest there. I guess the idea is like, well, this is, costs the same as a Chevy Bolt, and when most people prefer a Chevy Bolt to this, probably, but like, there's still a lot of people interested. I'm certainly interested.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and apparently they're doing a road trip, as a skeptic said, this summer. They are going around the U.S. Have you talked to them again about coming to the Electrek Sun
I
Formula Sun?
talked to them, and it's just really unfortunate.
They choked last time, right?
They just don't have the. I don't know. I mean, like, part of me is like, this would be perfect. I mean, just for like, and employees, like,
Mm-hmm.
you have like 700 kids, that would be perfect. Employees for your company, like, just show up. And they seemed afraid to, like,
Mm-hmm.
strangely, and you'd be like, well, why are you afraid? Are you worried that the kids are going to look under the covers and see like, oh, this is all? I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like,
But apparently they're coming through the South and then the Midwest this summer. So we're going to be in Kentucky in July
yeah, come on
for
out,
this. Yeah,
Aptera.
you can just. I mean, Kentucky is basically in between the South and Midwest, so perfect. All right, let's look at the comments real quick.
All right. Skeptic says, I don't see it on your list, but it's worth mentioning that Slate, the pickup truck company founded with money by Jeff Bezos and a few others, leased a production facility in Indiana.
Oh,
I'm not sure if we covered that, but it's still pretty early in Slate's existence, so we're not quite sure. They did a great job of publicity. We certainly covered. It's an interesting idea, but that's the news. They
I'm curious to see if they released product reservation numbers, because they did start taking reservation.
Yeah, what was the price on that?
They said it was $20,000, but after incentive and.
No, but I mean, how much does it cost to register?
Oh no, it was pretty low. I think it was like $100 or something. So
right. So
deposit.
I don't have a lot of faith in those things, but
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean it's the same as Cybertruck, basically.
Yeah. I noticed people are still buying Tesla motors, even if they are not buying as many cars. What does that mean?
I mean, yeah, it's not zero deliveries right now. It's just
Right.
way below what it
Yeah, and
used to be.
theoretically, some conservatives are
Mhm.
making the leap, which kind of goes along the. I mean, if Tesla owners are moving to other EVs and Tesla's gobbling up some conservative, I guess they're spreading the EV thing a little bit wider. Sort of.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Elon's moves in the last few years, including this backing of Trump, is a net negative for EVs at the end
For
of the
sure.
day. I don't think like the infomercial for Tesla that Trump did and all that. I don't think it had an impact. It had a positive impact for sure. I don't think it undid his years and years and years of trashing EVs, including Tesla.
All right, Carl in San Diego says Elon hasn't spent any time at Tesla. We learned from a whistleblower last week that Elon was only present at Tesla 2 days a month during the time he claimed to be sleeping at the office. 100% BSer. Did you see
Well,
that
I
report?
don't know if that's true, because it's been a while since he's been sleeping at the office. I think he was spending a lot more time at Tesla. I do believe, like in between, let's say January and April, 2 days a month. Yeah, that I would believe.
If they boot Elon, they can also start maybe licensing the company's tech too, which shareholders see as basically free money, even though it's not. The real money is in support for your IP, e.g., ARM. I don't know that. Like, I think everybody licensed Tesla's open source charging while Elon was there. I don't know if booting Elon would necessarily make. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think booting Elon would help in a lot of different ways. This one in particular, I don't know. I think Elon has been pushing, trying to get other automakers to license FSD, but I think it's not going anywhere. I don't know what other technologies they could license, but Tesla is not necessarily still the leader now in like battery motors and all that. Like, there's plenty of other very interesting tech out there that's on par or outpacing Tesla. And for the most part, when it comes to those tech, the automakers, especially the big ones, they kind of want to own that part of it, because it's, otherwise you're making cars, but you don't even own the technology behind them. So yeah, I don't see that happening as much.
Skeptic says the entire Tesla board needs to go before I'll consider buying another one. I think a lot of
Yeah, I
people
mean,
think that
I
way.
still had my hope about JB's trouble, and I don't know exactly how to interpret it, the little snippet about him in the Wall Street Journal. But yeah, I mean, if JB is still like on Team Elon at this point, I would be very disappointed. And in that case, I would agree with you, and I think you would need to replace the old board.
Yep. All right. It occurs to me the best way to hurt the rich people is by turning them into poor people. Eddie Murphy, Billy Ray Valentine, Trading Places, 1983. Boycott Tesla, stop enabling Elon. I think that's the idea behind the Tesla takeover stuff.
Mm-hmm.
145% tariffs on all those Chinese-made LFP batteries for their big battery systems, which takes a lot of cells. Nothing is growing; it's tanking.
Well, they haven't increased the prices on that yet, so I don't know what's happening. I don't know if they managed to get an exemption on that, and people are not talking about it. They didn't disclose it, which I wouldn't get it past this administration slash Elon slash Tesla, or it's just haven't had an impact yet because they have a stockpile. We've seen like Rivian was smart and managed to get a stockpile into the US before the tariffs. So maybe Tesla did the same. I don't know. We know that Tesla also has planned to try to do some LFP manufacturing, but it's based on the equipment they have right now. They admitted themselves that it's going to be very low volume. So I don't think it would have a great impact on the mega pack on Powerwall at this point. So yeah, I'm still looking at like what's going to happen with Tesla's mega pack and Powerwall with the tariffs. It's still not clear. I'm always keeping an eye on the pricing, expecting to see a price increase.
All right. Richard Cool says Kara Swisher, who's on the Pivot podcast, used to be Wall Street Journal.
Recode,
Yeah. But she's a Pivot podcast now. Thinks Elon might merge Tesla into XAI. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I had 2 big articles on this in the last month, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kara read those. I have the first crack in Elon's armor of lies article that basically details a chronology of Elon's attempt to control future AGI through OpenAI, then Tesla, and now XAI. And then I have another post that goes a little bit more into Elon setting things up for Tesla to bail out X and XAI, because now XAI has bought X. So it would be like a second Tesla bailout of Twitter, which is it's hilarious.
And Tesla's not. It would not be the first time that Tesla bailed out an Elon Musk company. We found out after the fact that Solar City was in quite a bit of trouble when Tesla bought them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Solar City, I kind of have to do a bit of a mea culpa on that one, because I was a big supporter back then of the merging. And I mean, honestly, I'm mea culpa, but like back then it did make sense in my mind, and it still does today if they would have continued with that business because of the integration. They just had launched Powerwall, the integration of Powerwall and solar deployment, as we now clearly see, is a big deal, and Tesla kind of created that with that. However, they didn't really need to buy Solar City to make that happen, and that's what we learned since, because Tesla is basically completely there's nothing remaining of Solar City right now at Tesla other than Tesla still owning all these finance solar installation at residential homes. So like which was crushing Solar City at the time financially. In terms of like Tesla is not doing solar installation anymore. They have offloaded all that to third parties. So that was the 2 big thing of Solar City: financing solar system and installing them. Now both are gone at Tesla. Only what was already financed remain on Tesla's balance sheet, basically. And the timing of that is very interesting, because Elon got sued over the Solar City acquisition at Tesla by Tesla shareholders. And his main defense at the trial was that, look, Solar City is now a very critical part of Tesla. It's an important part of it. And he won that trial because of that. And then as soon as that trial was over and he won, Tesla killed the entire solar division, basically stopped reporting solar deployment and everything. So obviously, if you want to see one of the many, if you want to highlight one of the many red flags of Elon Musk or his career, this one was actually a red flag that we didn't see coming until after the fact.
Yep.
But yeah, to answer the question, yes, I think that's a possibility. If it's not merging, I think that at the shareholder meeting coming up for Tesla, he's going to at least propose an investment, Tesla investing in around a financing for XAI/X. And maybe even a full merger is not possible. It's not impossible. It would be kind of a way for Elon to get back his Tesla share that he sold when he bought Twitter, and he just created a crazy inflated valuation for both X and XAI. So he probably owns 50+% of that, and if it merged into Tesla, it would boost his share in the company, which is what he wants. So, yep, I can see all of that happening.
All right, let's move on. Dan Oberstay, Tesla semi-charging in Georgia is for Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think they did reserve a few Tesla semis.
You would think, though, they would need to take the inventory to, I don't know, maybe they're just moving sugar around, I guess. I don't know what. All right, Michael Petacorpi, Tesla is not selling, but EVs are selling. Canada EU sales are up, but Tesla down -46 to 81% year over year in April, and the reported countries so far. In China, down 8% year over year, and again, EV total sales are up. Yeah, it's interesting that the reason for Tesla to be going down is different in each geo. Like, obviously in the US and Europe, it's kind of about Elon's right-wing stuff. In China, it's because the competition is so good. I don't think China cares about Elon.
But maybe now because of the tariffs and Elon's
Right.
link to Trump, so it's not about right wing stuff. It's more about the way they talk about China, like JD Vance calling them peasants and all that. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's something.
Some people can make the link between that and Elon. I think not everyone would.
Right.
But you're right. The competition is definitely the main factor for Tesla in China right now.
Scania is selling more e-semis in a month versus Tesla in a year. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not as familiar with Scania's electric offering with semi trucks, but I know like Volvo also sells a bunch of them. Freightliner with the e-Cascadia. There's competition out there. BYD sells a bunch of them. To be fair, the Tesla Semi is different. Like it's probably the first truck that is very similar capacity as a Class 8 truck, diesel Class 8 truck in terms of moving cargo and range. And it's just so there's nothing very similar on that front. All the others are more like city trucks for short distances and everything, which are great. By the way, they have a giant impact. It's just not exactly the same. There's the Winrose though, from which is basically like a Tesla Semi copycat from China that's now coming to the US and other markets. I think this one is closer to the capacity, but even then, I think it's a little bit below what the Tesla Semi is planning to offer.
All right, Roby Chap says, I save the podcast for walking the dog, so I'm never here live working hours, but listen to every podcast and read all of Fred's articles. What about my articles?
Yeah, that's
Thank you, Electrek.
Yeah, Robbie Chap.
I should mention that this is now Fred's 10th year, like a decade with Electrek, so that's amazing, and it's been an amazing decade. Kind of crazy, like how things have changed. It's
changed so much. And I did the math too. 13,000 articles in 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Or 3.7 article a day every day, including the weekends. Not that I work every weekends, but
and vacations, and so probably closer to like 5 articles a day.
On the days that I work, it's definitely over 5.
Aptera is supposedly doing a road trip around the U.S. this summer. Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. And what is the fallout of U.S. Congress and EPA following Trump revoked California's CARB waiver? Jamie Dow's article yesterday seems dismissive that MAGA will make this change. Big is their MO. Doesn't sound good if they try. I mean, I'm sure this will all head to the courts.
Exactly. And it did last time. So they tried to do that last Trump administration too. And it didn't work. And it was just a big waste of time, big waste of money through the court, and it didn't work. Jamie is confident that it won't work again, but at the same time, the Trump administration has made it clear that courts don't mean much to them anymore. So we'll see if they find other ways to make it happen. I really don't know. It's not my expertise, but Jamie is pretty knowledgeable on that. So I would, if you're interested in that stuff, I would follow his reporting on it. It's pretty good.
All right. Moving on. I love Tesla. Nobody wants BS FSD with Blue Cruise and Super Cruise and all the other cruises that now exist. And actually, I kind of like FSD nowadays. I hate to say it. Unfortunately, any stock, I like it because I go on back roads and it helps with that. Unfortunately, any stockpile is likely wiped out after 1 or 2 installations with the massive cell count required. Oh, I think we're talking about batteries here.
Yeah, I don't know about like 1 or 2 installation, but it's true that Tesla now deploys like 10 gigawatt hour a quarter. So to accumulate a stockpile of 10 gigawatt hour worth of battery cell, it's quite something. So so no, I don't see that happening. And then finally, we have random dude that say, "Watching democracy die is not your specialty area."
It's true.
Yeah, good point. It's kind of a new thing for all of us, I guess, in the Western world, in North America. You don't see that happening very often, but I even before the elections, I was like, all right, if Trump wins, it's not going to be the end of the world. He won before, and he did some damage, but it's not like, oh, okay. Like even as a clear Trump hater, I was completely wrong about it. Like he found ways to make it a lot worse, just very authoritarian, leaning toward fascism. It's pretty wild.
Pretty well.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll survive. We'll fight back. I watch these days. Set. I watch Endor. It's a Star Wars show of all thing on Disney. So it's a Disney series on Star Wars, but Endor is like one of the early rebel, like a rebel leader, like after the first 3 movies, if you will, before the last 3. Well, I guess now there's a bunch of them after the old ones, I guess. But every time I listen to it, I'm like, I'm hoping the Americans are listening to that, because it's about like the early days of the rebellion, when people start to see the Empire and Palpatine is like, oh, okay, maybe it's not, maybe he's trying to take over and it's a real thing and everything. So I'm like, all right, I've the U.S. listen to Andorra and get inspired. Well, I mean, obviously, don't get violent or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but there's ways to rebel in a non-violent ways. All right, we got one more, because Joseph asked the question with Q and 4 in front, and I do like that. What EV available in the US has the best charging curve lately? Summer road trip worthy? Good question. Good
I think
question.
Audis have a really good
Yeah,
curves, or they did traditionally.
they don't have a high peak
Right.
charging, so they're not like, they are, I think, closer to 200. So I think like something like a Silverado EV or something, like GM's top of the line EVs have some crazy peak charging, and that does normally translate into a good charging curve. Not always, but yeah, I would think the best charging curves out there, the Audis, the GMCs with the big battery, and the
Hyundai Kias aren't bad.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Hyundai Kias also have great charging curve, both high power and also great charging. All of those are great for road trips. I mean, Tesla vehicles are great for road trips too.
Yep.
Supercharger network is awesome. And but Tesla has fallen behind when it comes to charging, both peak charging and also charging curve. It's surprising. I guess they focus more on the deployment, but still.
Yep.
All right, that's it for us this week. I hope you enjoyed the Electrek Podcast. If you did, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All those things, they help the show a ton. They're free to do. They take a second, and we appreciate when you do it. If you're listening on your podcast app, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, if you can give us a 5-star rating, only if you mean it, of course, that also helps the show a ton, because we often get attacked by Elon fans and whatnot that give us like 1-star rating just for stating facts about Elon that they don't like. But if you can counter that, help us counter that. It helps the show a ton, and we appreciate when you do it. All right, that's it. We'll see you same time, same place next week.